Welcome to Kiss and Chapters, where every story begins with a spark and ends with a swoon. If you love heart-fluttering romances, unexpected twists and characters you'll root for, you're in the right place. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so I can keep bringing you more sweet, emotional, and unforgettable stories. Let's fall in love with every chapter, together. Chapter 1. Awakening in Skinny Jeans. The sound of an electronic ding echoed through the air, followed by the hum of something unnatural, like a mechanical beast breathing. Lady Hwang stirred. Her eyelids fluttered open. She expected to see the soft gauze curtains of her sleeping quarters, the flickering light of an oil lamp, and the faint scent of ink and inkstone. Instead, she was greeted by a blinding rectangle glowing from the ceiling, cold white walls, and heavens above, a long mirror reflecting a stranger. She gasped and sat up abruptly. Where am I? Who is this woman? The reflection showed someone with her face but dressed in garments so tight and revealing that her inner court lady would have fainted on sight. She clutched her chest. What kind of cursed bodice was this? It clung to her legs like a second skin. Was she trapped? Her fingers fumbled at the strange pants until she located a small metal thong. Click, and the garment loosened. She exhaled in relief. Am I in the West? Have the Dutch taken me captive? She muttered in panic. A shrill ding-dong sounded again. Startled, Hwang leapt from the bed and landed awkwardly on the unfamiliar wooden floor, knees nearly buckling. Her limbs moved sluggishly and her balance was all wrong. She caught sight of a glowing rectangle on the table, flashing lights and people inside it like tiny spirits performing a play. She gasped. A moving painting. The drama played on. A man in a sharp black suit was shouting. Do you think you can just walk away after breaking my heart? The woman on screen spun dramatically. Then sue me. Hwang blinked. Sue me. Something stirred in her chest. A strange thrill. The door buzzed. She moved to open it, still dressed in what she now realized was a sleeveless undershirt and pants she'd consider scandalous even for dancing girls. The door swung open and a tall man stood on the other side holding a paper bag. He had dark brows, a chiseled jaw, and the expression of someone deeply confused. You must be the neighbor, he said slowly. I'm Soo Ji-hoon. You ordered takeout. She stared. He looked like the palace guards from her youth, except rugged, modern, and much too handsome. What is this take-out you speak of? She asked primly, voice formal and full of suspicion. He blinked. Food? You ordered spicy tteokbokki. Hwang sniffed. Her stomach growled. The bag smelled divine. She narrowed her eyes. You dare offer me food as bribe, stranger? Ji-hoon tilted his head. You all right, Miss Kim? Kim, she echoed. He gestured to the nameplate on the door. Kim Hannah. That's you, right? Apartment 3B. Her gaze snapped to the polished plate beside the door. Indeed it said, Kim Hannah. She turned back to him, pale and stunned. I am Kim Hannah, she murmured. I suppose I am. Right. Ji-hoon handed her the bag. You seem a little off today. Maybe lay off the dramas for a bit. She clutched the warm bag to her chest as he turned and left, giving her one last confused glance. No Hannah, closed the door gently. Then she sat on the couch, opened the food, took one bite of the spicy rice cake and her eyes lit up. By the gods, she whispered. This world is terrifying, but the cuisine is spectacular. The moving painting played on and she leaned forward in fascination. One episode turned to 2. Then 3. And just like that, the former noble lady of Joseon was hooked, heart, mind, and soul, to the sparkling, tragic, delicious world of Korean dramas. Chapter 2. Noble Lady Meets Wi-Fi. By sunrise, while technically 5:42 a.m., Kim Hannah had devoured an entire 16-episode historical drama. Tears clung to her lashes as she clutched a tissue in one hand and a spoon in the other. Why did General Kong have to die in her arms? He was going to buy her hairpins. Her heart ached as if she'd lived the romance herself. She blew her nose, sniffling dramatically. Just then the screen flashed a cold blue message. No internet connection. She blinked. What sorcery is this? Hannah tapped the glowing rectangle which she'd learned was called a laptop. When nothing happened she picked it up and shook it gently like a stubborn kettle. Do not die on me, metal painting. I must know if the Queen's child survives in season 2. Frustrated, she peeked out her front door. Across the hallway, apartment 3C belonging to her neighbor, Soo Ji-hoon, the paper bag delivery man with the strong jaw and constantly confused expression. He seemed to know the ways of this strange world. A proper lady did not seek the company of an unfamiliar man. But desperate times called for desperate measures. She tied her hair into a crooked bun, threw on an oversized hoodie which she called a shapeless hanbok of this realm, and padded across the hallway barefoot. She knocked once. Then twice. The door opened halfway to reveal Ji-hoon, wearing sweatpants, hair slightly messy and eyes blinking groggily. It's 6 a.m. Do you need something on fire? Hannah gave him her most dignified nod. My moving painting has been cursed. The voices within have vanished. I require your knowledge. Ji-hoon blinked. You mean your Wi-Fi's out? She brightened. Yes. This Wi-Fi. I demand its return. Suppressing a grin, he leaned on the doorframe. Well, did you try restarting your router? Hannah paused. Sir Soo, I do not even know what a router looks like. Is it a tool? A soldier. He sighed and stepped back. All right, come in. She entered cautiously, looking around as if stepping into enemy territory. His apartment was neat, filled with strange items. Shelves lined with books, wires, mugs with sarcastic quotes. Hannah's gaze landed on a small blinking device near the window. She gasped. The spirit box. That's just the modem, he said. He pressed a button and the lights blinked. How did you do that? She whispered. Ji-hoon chuckled. It's like lighting a fire under a lazy spirit. You give it a little kick. She looked awed. You are a shaman in disguise. I'm just an engineer, Hannah. Hannah, she repeated softly, touching her chest. I'm still not used to this name. He looked at her for a beat. You really don't remember anything, huh? I remember being Lady Hwang of the Jeonju Kim clan. I wrote poetry. I arranged flowers. I once hosted a banquet where the court ladies praised my lotus porridge. Ji-hoon raised a brow. And now you're binge-watching palace dramas barefoot in my hoodie. He straightened. I am adapting with grace. You're doing something with grace, all right, he muttered. Just then a loud ringtone blared from Hannah's phone. She yelped, clutching her heart. Ji-hoon picked it up and held it out to her. Your phone. He stared at it like it might explode. I fear it sings when it's hungry, she said gravely. Ji-hoon laughed, an honest, surprised laugh. You're seriously one of a kind. Hannah smiled faintly. I will take that as praise. As she turned to leave, her laptop tucked under one arm, she paused in the doorway. Oh, and one more thing, she said, cheeks pink. Does every modern romance begin with a piggyback ride? I saw 3 examples. Ji-hoon blinked. Wait, what? Be ready. I may fall conveniently near stairs. And with that, the prim lady from Joseon strolled out, ready to script her very own K-drama moments, whether Ji-hoon liked it or not. Chapter 3. The Umbrella Incident, aka Trope Number 1. Rain poured from the sky like 1,000 silk ribbons unraveling. Hannah stood at the corner of the street, umbrella-less, face tilted up toward the gray heavens. The drizzle soaked through her hoodie, clinging to her like a second skin. Pedestrians hurried by under umbrellas, sparing her odd glances. One lady even whispered to her companion, "Is she filming something?" But Hannah stood firm, drenched, dramatic, and determined. This is it, she murmured. The classic rain trope. Scene 17 of My Office CO Oppa. The moment when fate intervenes. In the drama, the female lead stood in the rain, heartbroken, only for the male lead to appear, tall, handsome, emotionally constipated, and wordlessly shield her with his umbrella. They stared. The music swelled. A kiss nearly followed. Hannah clasped her hands, heart pounding in anticipation. Come, Ji-hoon. Your timing must be impeccable. And, like fate had heard her plea, a familiar figure crossed the street toward her. Soo Ji-hoon. Hair slightly damp, brows drawn together in confusion, one hand holding a plain black umbrella. He stopped when he saw her. Why are you standing in the rain? He asked. She smiled serenely, blinking away water. Waiting. For what? For you. He looked at her like she had just told him the moon was made of kimchi. You're gonna catch a cold. That is acceptable, she replied dramatically. A mild illness often brings two lovers closer in K-dramas. Ji-hoon blinked, then sighed. Wordlessly, he stepped forward and held the umbrella over her. Her breath caught. The umbrella scene. What was happening? She looked up at him, eyes wide, lips parted like the leads always did in her dramas. Ji-hoon, unimpressed, deadpanned, "You're soaked. Sco. You look like a wet seaweed wrap." Romance shattered. Still, she smiled dreamily as he walked beside her, holding the umbrella to cover them both. "Soo Ji-hoon," she said softly, "this marks the first time you shielded me from the storms of life." "It's just water," he mumbled, ears slightly red. No, don't ruin the mood." He didn't speak, but he did shift the umbrella closer to her side. Back at the apartment building, Hannah hesitated at the lobby. Ji-hoon raised a brow. "Not going up?" She shook her head. "No. I need to walk dramatically away from you, slow motion style." "I'll pretend I didn't hear that." She turned on her heel and walked slowly to the elevator, steps exaggerated, glancing back once for full effect. Ji-hoon just shook his head, fighting a smile. As the elevator doors closed, Hannah whispered to her reflection. One trope complete. Only 1,437 to go. Chapter 4. Cooking like a Joseon queen. Hannah stood in the middle of her kitchen, brows furrowed, wooden spoon raised like a sword. On the countertop lay a chaotic spread of groceries. Instant noodles, spring onions, eggs, tofu, mushrooms, and a suspiciously squishy block labeled fish cake. "I shall prepare a feast worthy of a royal banquet," she declared, tying her apron with fierce determination. After all, in Palace of My Heart, the heroine had won the emperor's affection with her cooking. If it worked on a monarch, it would surely work on Soo Ji-hoon, modern apartment nobleman. "Today I repay the man who gave me an umbrella, with nourishment." She had no clue what she was doing. 30 minutes later. Smoke curled from the microwave. The rice cooker beeped angrily. And the fish cakes had vanished. "Where did you go?" Hannah muttered, peering under the toaster. She was elbow-deep in a bowl of soy sauce when the doorbell rang. She wiped her hands on the apron and hurried to the door. Ji-hoon stood there holding a toolbox. "I heard something explode?" She stepped aside with a proud smile. "I was summoning the flavors of the ancients." He blinked. "You're cooking?" "I'm recreating royal comfort stew from episode 8. Come, sit. You will be my honored guest." Ji-hoon hesitated but followed her in. What awaited him was something. On the table sat 4 steaming bowls, each more mysterious than the last. "This," Hannah gestured proudly, "is spicy soybean tofu. That one is ramen infused with ginseng and gochujang. And this," she paused dramatically, "is a fusion dish I call palace pancake pizza." Ji-hoon stared at the creation in silence. Then slowly sat. "I apologize if the plating is aggressive," she added, noticing the splatters. He picked up his chopsticks cautiously. One bite. Then another. Silence. She leaned forward eagerly. "Does it stir your soul?" He chewed thoughtfully. "I think my soul is sweating." "Good. That means it's spicy. It tastes like you tried to cook 5 different dishes in one pot." She blinked. "How perceptive." But Ji-hoon reached for a second bite. "It's kind of good." In a confusing way. Her heart swelled with pride. A moment of quiet passed as he continued eating. Then, "Hannah." "Yes. You know you can just order food, right?" She gasped. "Blasphemy. Where is the romance in that?" Ji-hoon laughed. "You really believe life is a K-drama?" "It's not," she asked sincerely. He gave her a long look, then smiled. "You know what? Maybe it is." Later, after Ji-hoon left with a container of leftover palace pancake pizza, which he swore he'd investigate later, Hannah flopped on the couch with satisfaction. She turned on another drama and sighed. "If I can conquer a microwave, I can conquer love." She took a bite of her cold ramen thing and whispered to herself. "Suju, prepare your heart." Chapter 5. The Accidental Hug, Trope Number 2. The day began peacefully. Birds chirped. The sun peeked through the blinds. And Hannah was practicing dramatic sighs in the mirror. She paused, adjusted the angle of her face and sighed again, this time with more wistful longing. "No, he'll never look at me the same again," she whispered, then glanced at the mirror. "Too much." She jotted down notes in her romantic trope journal under the heading, Top 10 Ways to Make a Man's Heart Tremble. Right below Crying Prettily in the Rain was number 2. The Accidental Hug. In episode 11 of So, Catch Me If You Can, the female lead slipped in the grocery store and fell straight into the arms of her stoic, emotionally unavailable love interest. Cue dramatic music and slow-motion close-ups. Hannah closed her journal and stood determined. Today she would make fate happen. That afternoon she visited the nearby grocery store, clad in a flowing cardigan, a delicate headband, and a pair of impractical heels she found in Kim Hannah's closet. Ji-hoon was already there, scanning the produce aisle like a man on a mission. Hannah spotted him and gasped silently. Perfect, she murmured, clutching her shopping basket with resolve. Let destiny unfold. She waited until he turned the corner with a basket of green onions. Then, with the precision of a court dancer, she stepped forward, twirled her foot, and intentionally slipped on a very convenient cherry tomato that had rolled onto the floor. Ah! Her timing was impeccable. Ji-hoon turned just in time to catch her mid-fall. Their bodies collided. His arms wrapped around her waist. Her arms around his shoulders. For one breathless moment they froze, faces inches apart. I have fallen into your embrace, she whispered, trembling. Ji-hoon blinked wide-eyed. Did you just slip on purpose? She looked stricken. How dare you accuse me of plotting an embrace? I am a lady. He gently helped her upright. Hannah, you were looking right at the tomato. I was merely admiring the vibrancy of its hue. You flung yourself like a fencing student, he deadpanned. That was choreography. Hannah huffed. Fine. But tell me honestly, did your heart not tremble? Just a little. He looked at her for a long moment. Then, to her surprise, his lips twitched. I'm not saying it didn't. She blinked. Wait. What? I said nothing, he said, grabbing a bag of rice. But maybe stop flinging yourself at produce, huh? Hannah beamed as he walked away. She didn't care if he didn't admit it. That moment had all the ingredients. Close proximity, flustered breathing, mutual staring, and the faintest blush on Ji-hoon's neck. She scribbled a mental note. Trope number 2, accidental hug, success level, 87%. Room for improvement. That evening, Ji-hoon found a neatly folded note stuck to his front door. Read. Thank you for saving me from certain death and possible bruising. In return, I shall save you next time. Preferably from emotional loneliness. Yours with noble intentions, Lady Kim Hannah. He chuckled and slipped the note into his pocket. Chapter 6. Modern Makeover Mission. Hannah stood before the full-length mirror, arms crossed, lips pursed. This won't do, she muttered, inspecting her reflection. A proper heroine must possess elegance and visual impact. In her latest drama binge, the plain and misunderstood heroine had transformed into a stiletto-wearing goddess in episode 12. The male lead, left speechless. Hannah wanted that effect. She needed that effect. So she did what any rational Joseon-era noblewoman would do in a crisis. She stormed into the nearest cafe and grabbed her barista friend, Minji. Help me become stunning, she said seriously. Minji blinked. Like, makeup stunning or scandal in the group chat stunning? Hannah leaned in. The kind that makes a man question his life choices. Minji grinned. Say no more. Operation Glow Up. Over the next few hours, Hannah was pampered, prepped, and plucked. Minji guided her through a crash course on modern beauty. Eyebrows. Sisters, not twins. Eyeliner. Wings that could cut a man. Lip color. Choose one that says, kiss me, not fear me. Hannah sat still as a statue through the ordeal, only gasping once during the eyelash curler. Minji picked a fitted pale pink dress with flutter sleeves and a belt that cinched just right. And shoes, she added. Not the nun-style flats you always wear. They are called modest slippers, Hannah argued. Not anymore, Minji declared, shoving heels into her hands. You're the main character now. Later that evening, Ji-hoon was exiting the elevator, a bag of laundry slung over his shoulder when he saw her. Hannah. Glowing. Hair loosely curled, cheeks soft and flushed, lips a glossy red. She wore the dress like she had stepped off a drama set. He stopped walking. She tilted her head slightly. Well, has your breath been taken? He blinked. You look different. She stepped closer, the click of her heels echoing in the hallway. Different good or different who is this temptress? Ji-hoon rubbed the back of his neck. You look good. I mean pretty. Very pretty. Hannah lit up. Excellent. That confirms trope number 6. Makeover shock. I'll record it in my journal. You have a journal? He asked. She opened her purse and pulled out a tiny glittery notebook labeled K-drama. Scientific romance strategy. He chuckled despite himself. Of course you do. Just then Mrs. Park from 4A walked past. Oh my. Hannah-sai, you look like a movie star today. Hannah bowed gracefully. Thank you. I am cultivating allure. Ji-hoon grinned. You really went all in on this. I merely upgraded. Would you like to walk with me, neighbor Sue? My heels require an escort. He offered his arm, amused. Let's go, Your Grace. As they strolled down the block, Hannah whispered, tonight's mission, leave him 15% more in love than yesterday. Ji-hoon glanced at her. What was that? Nothing, she sang sweetly. But in her heart she added, your resistance is adorable. But I've watched 17 K-dramas, Soo Ji-hoon. You don't stand a chance. Chapter 7. The Jealousy Episode. 2 days after her grand makeover, Hannah noticed something unsettling. Soo Ji-hoon had stopped knocking on her door. No casual visits. No umbrella talk. No awkward compliments disguised as sarcasm. He even avoided their usual shared elevator rides by, she was certain, strategically using the stairs. Hannah paced her living room, clutching her pillow dramatically. This is textbook post-glow-up avoidance. In He's Handsome But a Jerk, the male lead had pulled away just when he realized his feelings. Was Ji-hoon doing the same? Her eyes widened. He must be afraid of falling for me. That afternoon she marched to Minji's cafe for reconnaissance. Cafe Intel. Minji slid her an iced Americano. Heard anything from your handsome neighbor? Hannah pouted. He is retreating. Like a general who realizes he's been ambushed by beauty. Minji snorted. Or maybe he's just shy. Or worse, Hannah said, narrowing her eyes. He's dating someone. Minji froze. You don't know. Know what? Minji leaned in. He's got a blind date tonight. Set up by his sister. Hannah gasped so hard she nearly choked on her straw. Emergency protocol. Jealousy activation. Back at home, Hannah flopped on the couch, a blanket draped around her like a mourning cloak. He's seeking another. While I stand here with my heart open like a drama heroine in episode 13. To cope, she binge-watched You're My Fate, even without memory, and ugly cried through 3 confession scenes. And then, a plan formed. That evening, as Ji-hoon walked out of his apartment in a clean button-down shirt and subtle cologne, he found Hannah waiting in the hallway. In red lipstick. And a suspiciously over-accessorized outfit. Going somewhere? She asked, feigning casual. Ji-hoon blinked. Yeah. Dinner. My sister set me up with someone. Don't make it weird. She placed a hand on her chest. I would never. I support your journey, even if it leads to mild heartbreak and empty conversation. He rolled his eyes. I'll be back in 2 hours. She nodded. But as soon as the elevator doors closed, Hannah sprang into action. Stage 2, strategic sighting. She waited exactly 90 minutes. Then walked casually by the restaurant Minji just so happened to mention earlier. Dressed in an elegant coat and heels, she paced past the windows twice. On the third pass, Ji-hoon looked up and saw her. He gave him a tiny, surprised wave. His expression? Pure confusion. Was it coincidence? Was she stalking him? Was she on a date of her own? Mission success. She turned away before he could ask. Later that night, a knock came at her door. Hannah opened it, pretending to be mid-laugh. Oh. I didn't expect company. Ji-hoon stood there, arms crossed. So, you just happened to be near the restaurant. I enjoy spontaneous walks. Near suspicious locations. He narrowed his eyes. You're jealous. She scoffed even as her ears turned red. I am a noble lady. I do not engage in pettiness. You literally did a stakeout. And you went on a date with an unworthy stranger. They stared at each other. Then he sighed. You're impossible. She tilted her chin. Yet here you are. His lips twitched. You're kind of fun when you're dramatic. Always, she said proudly. I am the storm in a historical romance. As he turned to leave, she called out softly. Did she impress you? He paused. Not like you do. Then he walked away, leaving her stunned and giddy in equal parts. Chapter 8. Jealousy looks good on him. Trope number 7. Hannah was not spying. She was merely observing. From behind a very convenient ficus plant outside the neighborhood cafe, she peeked through the glass to see Ji-hoon and Yerin chatting at a corner table. Yerin was laughing. Ji-hoon looked mildly amused. Not his usual full grin. Just polite. Still Hannah frowned. I'm not jealous, she muttered to herself. You're literally hiding behind a plant, her best friend Minji said from beside her, sipping a bubble tea. That's the international sign for jealous. This is research. For what? A spy drama. For trope number 7, Hannah hissed. The male lead must show signs of jealousy. But if I'm the one feeling it. She froze. Her eyes widened in horror. Minji. I think I'm the male lead. Minji choked on her tapioca pearls. Inside, Yerin reached across the table and flicked a crumb off Ji-hoon's cheek. Hannah nearly dropped her phone. Nope. She couldn't take it anymore. 10 minutes later, Ji-hoon returned home with Yerin in tow and found Hannah standing in front of his door with crossed arms and a neutral but clearly not neutral expression. Fancy seeing you here, he said warily. Hello Yerin, Hannah said sweetly. Still in town? Yes. Yerin smiled. I'm staying for the week. Ji-hoon said you love dramas, so I was thinking. Great. Hannah clapped. Let's watch one together. Ji-hoon blinked. Wait, what? One of the classics. With lots of plot twists. She smiled wider. And betrayal. Yerin laughed. Sounds fun. Ji-hoon looked like he'd been ambushed. That evening, Hannah chose the most emotionally manipulative melodrama on her list. One where the male lead got slapped. Repeatedly. Halfway through, Yerin dozed off on the couch. Hannah, arms folded, didn't look at Ji-hoon. He finally broke the silence. Hey, Phil. Why are you mad at me? I'm not mad. You dragged my cousin into a 4-hour drama with hospital scenes and amnesia. She flicked your cheek. She's my cousin. She flicked your cheek. Ji-hoon stared at her and slowly grinned. Hannah, are you jealous? I'm not, she faltered. Maybe. Just a tiny bit. His grin widened. Cute. I'm not cute. Adorably jealous. You're impossible. He leaned closer, voice lower now. You like me. Her heart did a dramatic thump-thump, worthy of any slow-motion scene. She refused to answer. Instead, she picked up the remote and hit play. A dramatic hospital scene came on. Ji-hoon chuckled and leaned back. Fine. No confession yet. She glared at him. Don't smile like that. You started it. Chapter 9. The Almost Kiss, AA trope number 8. It was supposed to be a simple grocery run. Hannah pushed the cart, Ji-hoon lazily walking beside her with a basket in one hand and a pack of instant tteokbokki in the other. No, Hannah said, eyeing the snack. Too spicy. But it's my favorite, he pouted. Hannah snatched the pack and tossed it back on the shelf. You're recovering from a cold. Didn't know you were my doctor now. She raised a brow. Didn't know you were 5. Ji-hoon gave her a mock glare. You spoil all my fun. Yet he followed her anyway, pushing the cart when it got heavy, reaching the top shelf when she couldn't. The domesticity of it all was both terrifying and weirdly cozy. After checking out, rain greeted them outside the store. Not a soft drizzle, but full-on K-drama level downpour. Of course. I forgot my umbrella, Hannah groaned. Lucky for you, Ji-hoon said, producing a tiny black foldable umbrella. I came prepared. He popped it open. It barely fit both of them. Their shoulders pressed together as they made their way toward Hannah's apartment, Ji-hoon holding the umbrella awkwardly at an angle to shield her more than himself. You're getting wet, she murmured. So, you don't like spicy or wet? I'm adjusting. Her heart fluttered. They stopped at her door. She turned to unlock it, but Ji-hoon grabbed her wrist gently. She looked up. Raindrops dripped down his jaw, his black hair clinging to his forehead. His eyes locked on hers, unreadable but warm. Wait, he said. She froze. Ji-hoon leaned in. Her brain screamed, this is it. The classic almost kiss scene. But her body refused to move. He got close. So close. Their breaths mingled. His hand came up to tuck a damp strand of her hair behind her ear. And then, her neighbor's dog barked loudly from the balcony upstairs, shattering the moment. They jumped apart like they'd been electrocuted. Ji-hoon rubbed the back of his neck and cleared his throat. I should head home. Hannah nodded stiffly. Yes, you should. Neither of them moved. After 5 awkward seconds he turned and walked away. Hannah slipped inside the door, closed it and leaned against it with her hands on her cheeks. She groaned. The trope gods had betrayed her. She didn't know whether to scream or rewatch a drama to cope. Chapter 10. Confession in the Rain, AA trope number 9. The umbrella was gone. The drizzle had turned into sheets of rain again, but Hannah didn't care. She stormed down the sidewalk, hair-soaked, sneakers splashing through puddles. He was avoiding her. It had been 3 days since the almost kiss and Ji-hoon had gone full ghost mode. No texts, no deliveries, no sarcastic comments from the balcony. She tried not to take it personally. Maybe he was just embarrassed. But so was she. She stopped in front of his apartment, her breath hitching. Was she really going to do this? Was she really going to pull a full-blown K-drama confession in the rain? Yes, she said to herself. Yes, I am. She ran up the steps and rang his buzzer. No answer. So she rang it again. Then again. The door swung open. Ji-hoon stood there, hair damp and disheveled, shirt wrinkled like he'd just rolled out of bed. His eyes widened when he saw her. Hannah. She blinked. You weren't going to call? I didn't know what to say, he admitted, stepping out. The drizzle began to soak him too, but he didn't seem to care. I thought maybe I'd overstepped. You didn't, she said, voice trembling. They stared at each other in the rain, the world around them silent except for the steady drum of water. Ji-hoon, she began. I'm not from here. Not really. I'm weird. I speak strangely, act strangely, and my favorite form of education is binge-watching fake romances. I know, he said with a small smile. I noticed. I thought maybe if I followed every romantic trope I saw I'd understand love. Or maybe experience it. At least a little. He stepped closer. Did it work? I don't know yet, she whispered. That depends on you. He didn't hesitate this time. His hands cupped her cheeks as he leaned in and kissed her. Soft and real, no audience, no background music, just rain and heartbeats. When they finally pulled apart, she laughed. You realize we just completed the rainy day confession trope? He grinned. And I didn't even have to get hit by a truck first. Don't jinx it, she warned. That's episode 14 energy. They laughed together, wrapped in warmth despite the cold. As they walked back under one umbrella, soaked and smiling, Hannah realized she didn't need a script anymore. She was writing her own story now. Epilogue. Her happily ever after, but with Wi-Fi. 6 months later, the small neighborhood cafe was buzzing. Partly from the espresso machine and mostly from the low hum of romantic tension at table 7. Hannah sat across from Ji-hoon, wearing a light pink dress and a hairpin shaped like a cherry blossom. She scrolled through her phone excitedly. Look, she gasped. The drama where the CEO falls for the amnesiac barista just got renewed for a 2nd season. Ji-hoon chuckled as he sipped his coffee. Let me guess. You're going to try the amnesia trope next. Too late, she replied with mock seriousness. I already pretended not to know you when your cousin visited last week. He groaned. That was so awkward. He thought you were my ex. Exactly. That's called chaotic second lead energy. She beamed with pride. He leaned in, resting his chin on his palm. You really love this weird new world, don't you? Hannah nodded slowly. At first I felt like I didn't belong. Like I was just mimicking someone else's life. But now, I get to laugh, cry, fall in love, and stream all 20 episodes of Love Crash Landing in Your Heart on demand. I think I'm finally living. Ji-hoon reached into his coat and slid a tiny box across the table. What's this? She asked, eyes wide. Open it. Inside was a simple ring. No diamonds, no frills, just a small engraving on the inside. Our own story. Hannah's breath caught. It's not a proposal, Ji-hoon added quickly. Not yet. Just a promise. For every silly trope you want to try, for every ridiculous plot twist. I'm in. As long as we write it together. Tears shimmered in her eyes and her voice cracked as she said, "This is even better than a season finale." He smiled. "Don't worry. We've already been renewed." And as the sun poured through the cafe window, Hannah took his hand, ready for all the clichés, chaos and kisses the world and her heart had to offer. Because sometimes the most dramatic love story is the one you get to live. Bonus chapter, Between Two Worlds. It happened on a rainy night, months before the K-drama-obsessed noble lady ever woke up in a strange apartment with a glowing TV. Back then, in the quiet Joseon-era palace, Lady Kim Hwyeon had been kneeling in front of a shrine. Her hands trembled as she lit incense and whispered her wish. "If I cannot find love in this world, grant me a second chance in a place where I can." In another world, the real Hannah Kim, a kind, curious girl who worked as a freelancer and loved collecting vintage hairpins, had collapsed on her apartment. She had suffered a rare autoimmune condition that had gone undiagnosed, and her heart gave out before anyone could help. Her mind drifted elsewhere. Somewhere in the space between two souls brushed past each other. One full of dreams but too bound by propriety to live them, and one too young to have finished dreaming. A choice was made not by them but by something greater. One who craves life may borrow it. One who's done dreaming may rest. So when Hwyeon woke up in the modern world, she wasn't just borrowing a body. She was carrying a legacy. Hannah Kim's final wish, written in the pages of her journal. "If I can't finish this life, I hope someone fearless will live it for me." And Hwyeon did. She watched K-dramas, made new friends, learned how to cook with an air fryer and fell in love. But she never forgot the name Hannah. One night, after Ji-hoon had fallen asleep on the couch mid-rewatch of their favorite rom-com, she opened the old journal she had found in the drawer months ago, the one filled with neat handwriting and lists of things I want to try before I die. She checked the final page. Ballot box with check fall in love. Ballot box with check ride a train in the rain. Ballot box with check wear a hanbok on my birthday. Ballot box with check dance in the middle of the street. Ballot box with check leave the world gently. Hwyeon smiled, her heart heavy and light all at once. She whispered into the quiet apartment, "Thank you, Hannah. I'll live this life well." And outside, just for a moment, the lights flickered, like someone was smiling from far, far away.